I am thrilled to announce that the It Has to Be Me podcast has joined Broad Radio. This is Australia's first radio network led by women for women to celebrate the diversity of women's voices and stories. And I am so excited that you get to meet the founder, Jo Stanley, today. Jo is a performer, a writer, a podcaster, TV and radio broadcaster and speaker. And after being discovered performing stand-up comedy in a dingy pub in the early 2000s, she has become one of Australia's most successful radio hosts. Her 20-year career in radio includes 2 record-breaking #1 breakfast shows in Melbourne, The Matt and Jo Show on Fox FM and Jo and Limo on Gold 104.3. Jo's podcast credits include Best of You for the House of Wellness, Pod of the Third Age for Ryman Health, and A to B with Mimi Kwa. She also writes a regular column for the Sunday Life magazine in Australia and is the creator of the Play Like a Girl book series. Jo is a fierce advocate for women's health and gender equality and serves as a patron for several incredible organisations in Australia. Oh, I think you are just going to love what she has to say about fiercely claiming what you want and the magic that happens when women come together and lift each other up. So let's get the skinny from Jo Stanley. Oh, Jo, I'm so excited to talk to you and be part of the Broad Radio family now. So thank you so much for bringing me into your world. I'm just so excited that we're connected. I've been a fan for such a long time. So,
Tess, can I just say I'm absolutely thrilled too that you're a part of the Broad Radio family. And I always say, I don't know if I have a Labrador, and when Labradors meet each other in a park, they recognise like for like, right?
Yeah.
And do this little, their bums go kind of really sort of crazy, and they're just like, you're a Labrador, I'm a Labrador, we're both Labradors. And I get that feeling when you connect with another woman who is like, yes, we're here to uplift, we're here to support, we're here to change the world. Let's do it together. That's how I feel. You're my other Labrador.
I'm feeling that energy right now. We're spirit animals. This is so great. So I want to go back a bit and just trace the evolution of this incredible network that you're creating. So what was your It Has to Be Me moment, as a child where you wanted to be a performer and be part of storytelling?
I couldn't say that I made a conscious decision around that. It has to be me. I just really loved that sense of play that came from, being in front of people and just sort of like exploring other characters. I loved singing. I grew up in a Christian family and in the church, so I loved the hymns. I loved the, Sunday school and all of that kind of, just the joy that comes from feeling music in you. And it just started, I guess, with music and singing and then exploring characters, and always just loved the sense of being on stage, even though I am an introvert. And I'm sure that there are many examples of people who are introverts who actually also love being on the stage.
I'm an introvert.
Yeah, there you go.
No, I didn't recognise that though.
Well, can you then explain what it is about the difference between being an introvert and being on stage?
Yeah, well, for me, this is just my interpretation of it, but I didn't actually know that I was an introvert until probably the last 10 years, where I realised it's what you recharge as.
Yes.
So I don't recharge from other people. I very much go into my cocoon. I recharge that way. And then when I want to come out and be part of story and reveal something, then I use performance as one conduit or connection with others in relationship or through work to do that. So that would be my
yeah. I'm most definitely exactly that. For me, my favourite thing is to be at home by myself, literally looking at a window.
Me too. Me too.
Do that all day, right? However, perhaps, and I love story exploring people and what make people tick, and I think that's some of the things about performers that really kind of fascinates me. But I love being a clown. I'm someone who, for me, it is enjoyable to make people laugh and laugh at myself, laugh at the world, and that sense of just going playfully, you know what, there are no boundaries to how stupid and silly we can be, because there's so much we can learn about self and each other in play. I love that.
Yes. Exactly. And that sense of play, that is what is so great about performance, is you're encouraged to do that. You have to do that in order to bring a story to life.
Literally, Literally do not censor yourself in any way. Go there, follow impulse. And I think that that's one of the things that's really fascinated me in recent years about myself and about the journey of who I'm becoming as I build Broad Radio. I say as I build Broad Radio is building me, because we're all becoming, right? You're never too old to become the person that you are meant to be or want to be. And the notion of play in that, I just find so fascinating, where you just follow the heart of your impulse. And we all have a calling. We all have a heart voice that is leading us forward, but we silence that constantly, or we say, oh no, that's too extreme, or that's insane. What that voice is telling me is impossible, or I'm going to upset people, or, it's too big or too hard, and we silence it. And for me, in recent years, Broad Radio has taught me, oh, listen to that voice, follow that voice, because you just have no idea where it's going to take you, and it's exciting and it grows you as a person.
Yes. But you had that ability early on. So tell me about how, being in a Christian family, you said, and I would imagine that there were certain ideas of what was accepted or what was kind of going to be the path for you or whatever, and you decided to go into theatre and then go into stand-up comedy. So you were listening to that voice way back then.
I don't think I was listening to it. I just couldn't not follow that path. I think actually I felt a lot of, there's shame culture in every family, and not intentionally, I don't think. Not always. I was lucky enough earlier this year to do the 2-day workshop with Elizabeth Gilbert in Sydney. And she, oh my God, Tess, I can't even tell you. It's the most transformative.
Was that like
2 days.
Chocolate?
It was like the warmest hug that just stays with you emotionally and psychologically, and in your heart, in your core. Like, I just feel like I've been lifted. My feet have been lifted higher since then, from all the things I learned and the things that she's Liz to me now. All the things, all the things that Liz said to us and told us and led us to explore within ourselves. And one of the things that she really delved into was shame culture, that we largely comes from family, friends, work, society. And we all have it to a degree. Like in a Christian environment, that is indoctrination, right? But I think all families have the norms, and sometimes unintentionally. It's like, oh, she spoke about, oh, that must be nice for you, just to be doing something that's a little bit out of the ordinary. Oh, that must be nice. The sarcasm comments, that kind of. So for me, within our family, there was definitely an expected path, because my parents were missionaries, my grandparents were missionaries, and my great-grandparents were missionaries. And my grandfather was an Anglican minister, and my father died in a plane crash in Papua New Guinea being a missionary. And so, there was just this expected pathway. And yeah, it was difficult for me because I just didn't ever feel like that was true for me. So all I could do was follow one foot in front of the other. And that led me to doing an arts degree with a drama major, so sort of a drama degree, I guess. Not performance technically, although at that time that course was evolving into a performance course. I was too scared to audition for a VCA or a NIDA. It was just way too much for me. I was I'm a very naturally scared person. Like, I'm literally terrified all the time. So that led me to the arts degree, because it was one foot in front of the other, which led me to drama, which led me to student theatre at Monash, which led me to a comedy troupe because my boyfriend was a comedian. And so I joined a comedy troupe because I wanted to perform and I wanted to write, and I couldn't find any other way, which led me to the Melbourne comedy scene, which was thriving in the 90s.
I mean, it just and thriving even more now.
Oh my God. Wow. Well, back there it was a really exciting time in comedy in Melbourne. It was
how so?
Scene. Well, it was the first time. So out of venues or theatres like La Mama and The Last Laugh and The Joke, it was a time where Australian comedy was developing a voice that the country had never seen before. And, we had people like Wendy Harmer and
Yeah.
Peter Rosehorn and Greg Fleet and, Barry Humphries, and people doing things that had never been done before, like Andrew Denton. And like there were people who were creating an Australian voice. And I came in on the back end of that. Like those people had been around for a while, but there were tryout venues in every pub. Anybody could get up. Anybody, and people were doing really interesting things. You remember Doug Anthony All Stars? Like they just what were they?
Hilarious.
Hilarious and unique. You had like Lionel Woodley, and it was such an exciting time. Some of these people are dear friends of mine now, which I just still pinch myself. Like, how did that happen? I was literally a groupie following Doug Anthony All Stars around, and now here I am. Life is amazing, right? So I just fell into it because it was there and it felt
But wait
like
a second. I'm not going to let you just slide that under the rug here. Hang on a second. So, they say public speaking is the number one fear above death. I'm going to tell you that I would rather public speak to 25,000 people than do stand-up comedy. That is like my idea of the most terrifying thing on earth, is just standing there with a microphone trying to make people laugh. And you say that you're terrified all the time. So when you said before, well, I didn't listen to it, I just couldn't not do it. So you asked me about how I interpreted being an introvert and performing. How do you differentiate the listening and giving yourself permission to follow it has to be me, as opposed to I just couldn't not do it? Can you explain to me how you reconcile that?
I mean, this was sort of, I wasn't, this sounds so wanky.
Oh, go on, be a wanker.
Oh, well, I'm very woo-woo. And I think I would say I just wasn't evolved and enlightened enough to understand that I had a heart voice I was following. I hadn't discovered meditation. I hadn't discovered mindfulness. I was deeply disconnected with self. So, like most people in their 20s, I, did lots of drinking and lots of partying and didn't really sit with myself and understand why I was drawn to do something. I just kind of blindly went on because it felt like there was opportunity there.
Yeah.
I think actually what it was my instinct telling me that's where I needed to go. And now I wouldn't be doing broad radio without having done that stand-up, because that stand-up got me into radio. And so I really do believe it was the universe's path for me. But I didn't know that. I wasn't connected with self or universe or my heart at that point.
Yeah, I want to ask you about that opportunity. You saw opportunity there. So when you say that you're somebody who feels terrified all the time, is that your antidote to fear, is embracing the opportunity, diving into the opportunity, maximizing your opportunities? Would you say that?
I, in recent years, have identified as an antidote to fear passion. I think passion counteracts anxiety every time.
What are you passionate about?
Well, for me, it has, in the last 15, 20 years, it's been about shifting gender inequality, basically. Being what I can, doing what I can to support women to be their largest version of self. And really it's because that's what I've explored in myself. It's been my own path. And I'm like, yes, I have made myself small. I have made myself silent. I have made myself a lesser version of who I really am, or I've shape-shifted, or I've been too amenable, and I've been deeply unhappy. And now I want to help women, other women, young and old and teenagers, and I want this for everyone on the planet, but I think that it's a distinctly female experience to be told to be small. So that's been my passion for the last 20 years. And every time, particularly around building a startup, like that is fucking terrifying. Essentially, especially in an industry where you have been known for achieving quite a lot, but, then you're going to do something completely different within that industry. And I was terrified of what people within radio might say. But now I don't fucking care.
I want to get to this kernel of this I don't fucking care. So So what was the first invitation that you recall to this self-awareness path? I'm playing too small. You say you weren't self-aware back in your 20s. When I know now you're very deep into meditation and self-awareness and you're very much on that path. What was that first invitation that you remember to opening yourself up in that way?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it probably came from therapy. Doesn't all good things come from therapy?
Yeah,
I
in
mean,
my life
hard
too,
things, yeah,
100%.
like hard things and important
Yeah.
things.
What
I
prompted you to go into therapy?
I was deeply unhappy. Didn't know why. I think, and again, had sort of. It's all a bit of a blur to me now. I don't have a very good memory test, so um, I have this desire to write a memoir, and then I go, "What actually has happened in my life? I don't recall." But I think what it was, I'd spent my 20s aware that I was very disconnected from who I was, but didn't quite understand what that meant. Just was unhappy, lots of anxiety, didn't know how to settle. Very sad. I mean, sad. I was very sad. And I think when you experience childhood trauma, you do carry a sadness with you. I'm just at peace with that now. I don't think you'll ever, anybody who's sort of gone through something like I was 4 when my father died, and then, that led to a pretty difficult childhood, not just the grief of that loss and my mother's grief, but the poverty and the sadness in our house. So that shifts you, that sits in your cells. And the other thing is fear. Like when I say I'm always frightened, it's because in my cells I learned that the world will disappear like that in a heartbeat. It can and will.
Yeah, your central nervous system is wired to receive that next tragedy. Yeah,
exactly. And so I think I was led to therapy because I just knew that I could live a better way somehow. And I've had lots of different kinds of therapy and I've had about 6 different therapists, maybe 7. I don't think I broke them. A lot of them retired, but I have kind of, gone from, as I learn, and, life is sort of about plateaus. I think you scale and plateau. Yeah. And so I, in that first iteration of therapy, it was really just understanding the vocabulary of what feels wrong and what can feel better, essentially. And in that process, that particular therapist led me to mindfulness and meditation and changed my life. Absolutely.
Yeah. And so when you walked through and this door of opportunity, starting in radio, what did you learn from being in radio? And what do you love about it so much? Like, how did you just take to that after being on the stage and then being in an audio medium? What was that shift like for you?
It was like coming home. Because I will
Really?
say,
Tell me about that.
I mean, because and everyone says when I say I was a stand-up comic, and I still, if I was to describe myself, I would describe myself as a comedian, even though I don't do stand-up anymore. I do lots of keynotes and MCs, and it's very informed by the need to write a joke and it to land and get people to laugh. Like that is kind of where I start whenever I write something and perform something. But I was never very comfortable, and because I hadn't done the work on self, so I wasn't able to sit in the moment and let the connection between performer and audience happen in a way that you really need to if you're going to thrive as a comedian. So the anxiety around being on the stage was crippling, and everyone says, "Oh, I could never be a stand-up. It's got to be the most courageous thing." I'm like, well, it is very very scary, but I was never particularly good at it, so perhaps I also was crippled by that anxiety. And to be honest, the green room was even worse. Like standing in that green room and the feeling that I didn't belong and that I wasn't good enough was so pervasive and so overwhelming in myself, in my body, that I would feel like I want to vomit before I walked into the green room. But radio, I just immediately understood. You bring very crafted, like it's intended to sound spontaneous, but you write what you're going to talk about pretty much, and then you forget it. It's connection with your teammates. It's that fun play that we spoke about of keeping the ball in the air and going anywhere and being vulnerable and being very, very in the moment, present moment aware. It's a connection with an audience that is so beautiful, because as you build trust and relationship with audience, you can fail, you can be flawed, you can share, hilarious things, but really sad things with that audience. And they then, as they trust you, they share themselves with you as well. They're funny and clever and moving. You become a part of their lives. They become part of your life. It's so beautiful as a medium. And also it allows you to be angry about what's happened in the world, to be sad, to be deeply, to find something hilarious, the silliness of life. It's just such a perfect microcosm of understanding humanity that I just instantly fell in love with it. I love the connection with audience. I miss that so much, speaking with audience every day and hearing them relate back to you, and that you kind of get this sense that we're in it together and we're helping each other get through the day. Because days are hard.
Yes.
Days are hard.
And you were in morning radio. So just knowing you're helping someone start their day off with a laugh, on a good note, feeling part of community, feeling a sense of belonging, I imagine was deeply fulfilling.
So great.
Yeah.
So great.
What did you learn
you're
about
up
yourself?
At 3:45 a.m., so it needs to be good.
Yeah. What did you learn about yourself inside of that interaction with others?
Yeah. I mean, I learned that I was shape-shifting. I learned that I wanted to be happy with who I was, and that I needed to work on that. I learned because I'd come from the arts, right? So before I was in radio, my day job was theatre producing and venue managing theatres. So you would know, Tess, in the arts, everybody is a certain kind of person. They're kind of eclectic, eccentric, very accepting of every kind of personality. Really, it's just a beautiful, warm, kind of lovely space. And then I found myself in the media. I was like, what kind of people are these? And I realized that the arts was such a little bubble. You've got your sales team, and you've got your management, and you've got people in media, particularly very male-dominated industry, who are all extremely alpha and ego-driven. And I just was like, what world is this? And then I realized that is the world. Oh my God, that's not like comedy and theatre. That's not the world. That's a beautiful part of interpreting the world. And then I started to understand the gender disparity and gender inequality, which I knew intellectually. Like my mum, single mum, she taught me to be a feminist. I was reading Simone de Beauvoir and Germaine Greer at age 12. But I didn't quite understand the realities of it. Like I went to a girls' school and it was just never, it wasn't real. And then I was in radio and I was like, whoa, hang on a minute. There is such a difference in the way they treat women and the way they treat men. There is such a disparity in numbers. There is and I just started to kind of form myself as a feminist that's quite angry. And so I learned that. I learned how to be resilient no matter what, turn up, bring your best self, how to be kind and patient with others. I learned teamwork. I learned personal brand, business brand, like so much. Every single thing that I do now is because I was lucky enough to be in that show.
Oh, wow. And it was the #1 show. What was that like, being on the top? What was that like for you?
Pretty. I mean, it was amazing because it meant that I had a job year to year. But it was, I always used to say, well, being #1 doesn't get up and write the jokes for you in the morning, and it doesn't put you in the right headspace to be doing what you're doing. That means that you have this beautiful, enormous, very large audience. It was exciting and it was joyous and it was terrifying, because if your ratings dropped, then you knew that, you know, your job was on the line. You had a lot of people wanted to ride you for performance at times when sometimes you weren't. You were doing your best, like the amount of times. Less so as we rated really well, but over the years, you know, they do this thing in radio called air checks, where you would sit in a room and they would play back the show of that morning, and there could be anywhere between 2 and 8 people in that room telling you what you did wrong minute by minute. You know, crazy stuff like that. But the amount of times I'd say, well, you show me the part where I wasn't trying my hardest. Sometimes things don't land, right? You kind of, so it's very, very high pressure, very, very, and I drank a lot and I cried a lot, and, you know, was pretty probably dysfunctional during that time. But also was the greatest joy of, like, the best 10 years of my life doing the Matt and Joe show. We had a little family, you know, on air and off, and I've never felt before or since, that sense of belonging and that sense where I was able to be truly in that performance space, in that family, in that little bubble that is a glass studio, literally a glass bubble. I was completely and utterly just being me and following that instinct that, you know, I'm going to say this now, I'm going to interact in this way, I'm going to just really not question the voice. And yeah, that was incredible.
Yeah, God, that's a beautiful feeling.
It's so rare. Like, I just feel so fortunate, and I was gifted that experience by the universe. Not to suggest I didn't work really hard, and not to suggest there's no talent there, but it was, the universe just kind of gave me that privilege, and I will forever to go to my grave being so deeply grateful for that.
Yeah, I want to ask you about this sense of belonging and this sense that I'm enough. You know, I worked for it. You talked before about standing there in the green room or backstage in the stand-up comedy clubs going, I'm not good enough. You know, I'm not as good as some of these, you know, people that are truly gifted at this. And then when you went into radio, realized I'm actually really good at this and got to the top of your game. How did you harness that or hold on to that or hold it differently and let it keep you buoyant when that chapter ended?
Yeah, I mean, so, you know, I went from the Matt and Joe show to then over to Gold 104.3 and did Joe and Limo for 2 years.
Yeah, well, you then had another great show.
Yeah. So we took that to number one for the first time in 10 years.
Yeah.
And then we got sacked, like, at number one.
So talk about what that felt like.
Pretty surreal. Like, I think I'm pretty good at disassociating. It tends to be my reaction to any kind of trauma or challenge. I less so now, but I kind of tend to just disassociate from body and just kind of let it happen and then sit in shock for a bit. I was absolutely devastated because that show was brilliant and was heading towards some greatness. Like, it takes 2 years for a show to, like that, a breakfast show, to really hit its straps. And we've been 2 years and never ever had a conversation with the person who sacked us. He wouldn't return our calls, and he never kind of gave us an explanation. So that was difficult to get some closure around that. But then, you know, the lesson in that is that shit things happen and you can't get closure sometimes from the way, like, you know, there's no explanation and you just can't. You just got to find peace with it in yourself, right? That sense of being enough, it's interesting because even when I was doing the Matt and Joe show, I look back now and still there's a part of me that goes, I wanted to get a foothold of feeling like I belonged in that industry that I never got. Like, I felt like I was always only just sort of hanging on to my position in the industry, even though we were so successful, even though, you know, it just felt really like I was just standing a little in the shadows all the time. I don't know if that's the right analogy, but just a little bit left of the main stage, I guess you could say, and where the people that were fully accepted and enough got to stand, even though I was on a number one show and even though I know that I was integral to that successful show. And so when we got sacked, it basically reinforced the fears that I had, I think, been carrying, that I wasn't ever, I never really had the right to take up space in that industry. And I think that was part of the grief. That was part of the grief, to kind of sit with, well, who are you now that they've taken a job that I was pretty much defined by? That's gone. And how are you enough without it? Probably you were never enough. That's, I guess, the voice that I had to sit with. I really did sit for a year and look out the window. I mean, I did work, but just kind of cried a lot and sat and looked out the window trying to work out what am I, who am I? But thankfully, I had discovered mindfulness and meditation by then, and journaling, and, you recover, or I recovered through sitting with me. And I love affirmations, just telling myself that I love you and you are enough. You have enough. It's kind of, the healing, you have to kind of be your own healer.
Yeah. So as you were sitting out the window, just thinking, receiving,
Yes.
listening to your heart, saying your affirmations, being your best friend, and whatever, terms we want to put to this. What were some of the things that were coming up for you that then invited you to step into this next iteration of your career?
I think I've always felt like I had more in me. I think in that fear of not being enough, or that sense that people didn't think I was enough, I think I realized that I had made myself smaller. Like, I had not, I think people pick up on the energy that is around you. And if I'm presenting myself as inside thinking, oh, I don't really belong here, even regardless of whatever success, if I'm energetically saying that, is there a sense that people are picking up on that and feeding that back to me? And so I really kind of had to sit with, what is it that I want to project? Who actually am? What are the energetically? What am I carrying around with me? What do I need to release? And what is not serving me anymore? And as I did that, I really spent a lot of time journaling around what is something that I know to be true about myself, and that is I'm really passionate about basically sharing the path that I'm experiencing so that other women can share this same path of, like, discovering the glory of you, the beautiful parts of you that the world doesn't get to see. And so as I kind of sat with that, I really just felt like, well, let's release the need to be what other people want you to be, on how you have projected yourself to be. Let's release that and just follow maybe a quieter path, a different path. Just, I don't even know what I'm going to do. The world will show me, the universe will show me. And eventually it showed me broad radio. So I just kind of felt like I had to sit and be quiet. When you work so very hard, and radio is brutal, breakfast radio is brutal, and you are so tired, and all you can do is keep the work, the one foot in front of the other, the activity. You don't ever sit with self. You're just too busy doing rather than being. And so that year was an incredible gift, because I was forced to sit and be. And that's where I was like, okay, let's release that ego version of you.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? When you get older, you just become less interested in the persona construction and more interested in the sense of self.
But that, don't you think though? I've reflected upon that, and I think I couldn't have come to this version of me earlier because it's in the doing that you have the life lessons.
100%. Yes.
Yes. So we could say, I wish my 20-year-old self had more wisdom and was more connected and less. And I do. But at the same time, it was all that mad, completely chaotic, frenetic paced activity where you make the mistakes and when you do the things you go, holy shit, who was I? Why was I
And we're going to keep making mistakes in this version of ourselves today and tomorrow. You know what I mean?
So many. But I can't say I wish I hadn't been those, but I do now identify behaviors in myself where I go, oh, you're falling into that again. You're falling into it. Because for me, productivity is an addiction, and it's a way.
Oh, you and I again, spirit animals. Hello.
But you know what I mean? So you would understand that when you are anxious, when you don't want to sit with self, you don't want to sit with fear, you don't want to sit with sadness, you go, oh, I know, I'll just fill that with do until you fall over in a complete, burnout, mess, like a pile of laundry on the couch. That's all you are. And then you're too tired to actually sit with those darker parts of self as well. So, it's now I can recognize that behavior and go, oh, it's time to maybe not do so much today and face whatever the fuck is going on in your mind and heart today. That's,
Yeah, so
that's where I'm so wise now, Tess. So wise.
I know, me too. Wise about some things and really dumb about other things, but that's okay. I'm on the path. So this whisper, the story, this idea of broad radio. I mean, not everybody decides they're going to start a network. I mean, that's a big, beautiful thing. So this idea you were talking about before about passion being the antidote to fear, and you realizing that your passion was that you wanted to empower women and you wanted to be part of correcting the gender imbalance and so forth. There are a lot of ways that you could be doing that. You're a patron of different organizations and a supporter and a speaker, and a lot of different ways that you could have been part of that change. And I know continue to be in those parts of your career. Why start a network?
And trust me, I've asked myself that many times. Because it is really hard. Turns out it's really hard. And, the amount of times I thought to myself, why didn't I just do a fucking podcast?
Well, you did. Several.
Many. And in fact, I'm about to launch another one.
I can't wait.
Yeah. But why did I start the network? It was, and this was literally, this is probably the first moment where I can actually consciously say I thought it had to be me.
Oh, great. I'm so glad we got to a conscious it has to be me. Yes.
Because so a lot of people had said to me, strangely, like who says to someone, oh, you've just been sacked. Why don't you should just start your own radio network? It kept being said to me, and I kept saying, I don't think you understand radio. You don't just start a network. And then because it kept being said, I was like, oh, that's kind of weird. Why do people keep saying that? And then I was meditating, and I kept having this image. It started very small, this image of the women outside of myself. The women that we all are, a collective womanhood, I guess you'd say. But when I meditate often, and one of the things that really, when I'm feeling extremely sad or anxious, my visualization is around the golden energy within ourselves, reaching out into the universe and sort of just going on forever, infinite. And that's for me, that's my limitless potential, right? And as I was having that visualization, it became really clear that it was to women. This connection was to women. And so, most ideas come to me as pictures, and I have to try and work out what that picture is. And then as people kept saying to me, radio network, and I'm like, okay, that's really interesting. And I kind of was tracking in my own work as I was, doing the practical things of trying to get my next job, fuck's sake. What am I going to fucking earn? The money? What is the money going to be so I can pay the mortgage? I was tracking, what have I done and who am I and all that sort of practical stuff you're supposed to do. And I realised I had been driven with my work in radio around elevating women and being a voice for women. And, this is a thing that I often do. I sometimes do mentoring and coaching, and often I'll talk about, well, you got to take an audit of your life and you've got to sort of see where are the patterns. I'm like, okay, so I'm an ambassador for these charities and that's all women focused. And now I'm on this ministerial council for women's equality. And that's an incredible room of very, very full on and depressive feminists who are terrifying. And so all of that was happening, and then I'm having this meditation, and then I was sitting in this room with this ministerial council, and I saw I don't know, it's like, what do they say when the blinkers fall away from your eyes? And I was like, okay, so I know that I've been in radio it's always 2 men to 1 woman, and I've done the research. Of the voices you hear in radio, only 27% are female. I know all this, and so I'm like, I've been, fighting the women's fight whenever the microphone's been on. I've been representing all the women. And then I'm in this room with these incredible feminists, and diversity just is hitting me in the face. And I've gone, oh my God, even though I've only been 1 out of 2 in the room, women, all the women have looked like me. All the women are white, cisgender, middle class.
Yeah.
I'm like, hang on. And it just kind of was just this like I don't know, Oprah would say an aha moment, I guess. It was just like, I should not be speaking on behalf of women. I need to make my one microphone into hundreds of microphones. That's what needs to happen. Because the thing that is the problem in media generally is the numbers. It's a numbers game. We just need more women, more voices, diverse voices. Like I was at Vic Roads yesterday and I looked around and I went, this is Australia, the diversity in that space.
Yeah.
The people working there and the customers. P.S. could not speak more highly of Vic Roads. They were incredible. That was so quick. My daughter got her learners yesterday. So exciting. So I just was like, what am I speaking on behalf of? That you do not see here the diversity of those people, that kind of, the Australia that, you go to footy training or school pickup or Vic Roads, that's just non-existent. And it has a detrimental effect on the stories we tell ourselves. Oh my God. It just became so clear. And I knew it had to be me because I'm the one who has that extremely successful radio experience. I'm the one that has the privilege of knowing so many people and my networks. I'm the one who can put myself on the line and do that. And I guess I'm the one now who's done the work in self to do it as well. And I'm the only one that has this vision. And then the meditation became quite clearly the broad radio now became, I see the business, I see the platform, I see everything about it is so clear to me. I see it 5 years from now when we have 2 million listeners a week, which is, to me, that's the tipping point when we will actually affect societal change because the voices are there. I see that so clearly, and I didn't know how I was going to do it. But then the universe provides, unfortunately, and very tragically, we all went into lockdown. And suddenly streaming exploded. And what we're doing now, became so easy. The technology caught up with the idea, and I had been speaking with networks about the idea and they liked it, but no one wants to put money into this sort of thing. And I was like, well, fuck it, I'll do it myself, which I think now is, I realize is sort of a pattern of my life. I'm a very much a fuck it, I'll just do it myself kind of person, to my detriment. But
and to your
so
success as well.
Oh, yes. Yes. You wouldn't like a saviour to come in and go, you know what, I'll do that for you.
Yeah. Well, I kind of feel like our superpower is our Achilles heel when not held in balance. So when you're in balance or somewhat, on the spectrum of balance, it is an absolute superpower. And then it's to your detriment when it's out of balance, is how I interpret it, what you're saying, if that
I
makes
am
sense.
writing that down, Tess. That is so valuable for me to hear.
Yeah.
And this is the thing that I love about the space we're in at our age, which is the thing I love about Broad Radio. Women are fucking wise.
Yes.
And you get little, if you're open-hearted to it, which I am because I meditate every day. So I'm lucky that I have this muscle now where I hear the little wisdoms. But women are full of them. And when we have conversations, like Broad Radio is about, it's women, and we are distinctly women over 35 is our target audience. Of course, we go beyond that to younger women, but it's women in our life stage who they just bring the nuggets, and it just goes, oh, yes. Oh, I'm going to lock that away for me today. Yeah. That's so true what you say.
Delicious. And it's so activating. Is how I feel, because you've got so many fantastic shows and there's just some brilliant people that are part of this family. I'm so honored to be a part of it. Thank you so much.
I'm so excited.
It's just so you just, I mean, I get activated, on a cellular, energetic, kinesthetic level, and then on a soul heart level, like you were saying before. One of your big goals is for women to feel like they're not alone, that you've got support. You're not the only person who's experienced this, who's felt this, who is feeling this, and that, like you were saying, it's never too late to have another dream, to take action, to become the person you want to be, to take ownership of who you are, and to use your voice. And I think that, like you were saying, 1 microphone into 100, into 2 million listeners, into 4 million listeners, and let's keep going, right? So in terms of you curating your content and your personalities, because there's so many people that you could choose to be part of the family, when you gathered your tribe, so to speak, of people, of trusted people, personalities, advisors, and so forth, when you were looking at this vision and then bringing it to life, where you had to have other people help you, even though it has to be me to do it, how did you choose those people? What was your barometer?
Love, which is really probably the opposite to what you imagine in a business. But I think when you are in a creative space, it has to be love-driven, heart-led. And what's interesting is there are a lot of people who are doing incredibly great creative things, and my instinct is they're not love or heart-led, and I don't want that. I don't want a space in which there is anything that is from a I guess we have a zero tolerance for hate, is what I would say. And that doesn't mean you can't be disruptive. That doesn't mean you can't be confronting or confrontational, because we are here to change gender inequality, right? And that does require sometimes anger and sometimes to say some really difficult truths. But I think everyone that we approached and invited to join us in this incredible adventure are doing the work, are keen to evolve as people and to help other people evolve, and that's, again, not to say we have unified policy like political views. We don't, we have people from all the spectrums deliberately. That's not to suggest that we sit around in a love circle agreeing with each other. That's really fucking boring radio. It's about, though, understanding that there is a open-hearted belief in each other and in allowing each other to be the most beautiful big version of each other, and we will help each other do that. And there's no place for being deliberately divisive or being I I guess in a way that actually hurts people. We don't want to hurt people. And I mean, an example is that we are women-led and it's by women for women. However, we love men and we would never, ever, ever, be in a space where we are creating an us and them situation. We've had men on the shows. We will continue to have men on as a part of the content. It's just that we centre female voices and gender diverse voices. So yeah, I guess at the heart of it, it's love. It's just going, okay, this is a person who I can connect with and understand that we are on we have the same vision for the planet and for each other, I guess. That's so.
But I felt that. I felt that when you and I met, when we were thinking of collaborating, and I very much knew that you were taking the temperature, as was I, as should anybody when you have an initial meeting with somebody.
Yeah, and it's interesting because it's hard sometimes because people use really good words, and people are good people.
Yeah.
So at times you can be having a conversation and, you can go, oh, this sounds like a really interesting thing to explore. And then 2 or 3 meetings in, I can be, I feel like there's something just not right. I don't have to define it, though, for me to go, no, it's not right. I don't have to actually have the answer for myself. It can be enough for me to go, I'm a little not sure. So if in doubt, leave it out. It's one of my mottos.
100%. I call that it does not have to be me moment. It's what I call those moments, right?
Well, it's just as important, isn't it?
There's only so
today.
many yeses to give, and they have to be your yeses and your nos based on your mission, your feelings, your gut, they have to be aligned with your values, So what's the biggest challenge that you face with broad radio?
Well, I mean, with any startup, the biggest challenge is commercializing it. That is really, really hard. And for us, it's a numbers game again. So in the media space, commercializing anything requires a certain amount of ears or eyes, and you got to start from ground zero. So of course, as we grow, we haven't quite hit that level at which people would want to commercialize what we're doing to a degree that we're as sustainable as we need to be. So that's really, really challenging. You need to grow, you need audience, you need to make content costs money. Like it's all that sort of kind of catch-22 that you find yourself in, that every business finds themselves in. So for me, it's understanding to see abundance in a different way. And
tell me about that. Yes.
Because you could spend your whole time in a scarcity mindset because you have bills to pay, because your revenue might not be where it needs to be. Like that is really crippling. It removes that blue sky thinking that is critical to building a business. And for me, as a, I've got many hats. One of the hats, of course, is to commercialize and be sustainable financially. But my other hat, one of many, is the creativity of going, what do we need to create content-wise that's not being done, that's going to capture an audience and grow? And, so if I'm only thinking about the scarcity, I'm not going to have that blue sky thinking that I need to have. So abundance comes in many different ways, and we are as rich as any person, any business can be for support, for connections, for people who want to hear our story, who want to help us grow, for just a passion for not just the idea. People, of course, want to elevate women's voices, but for our idea. That's been quite distinct. Yes, I want there to be gender equality. Who doesn't? I mean, I guess some assholes don't, but I don't care about those. I don't even think about those people. But the majority of Australians, actually, they have a majority of Australians they've done research, like the recent Gender Compass report that Plan International have brought out. The majority of Australians want gender equality, but people have connected with us. When people connect with broad radio, there's that support as well. So it feels very personal, and the abundance that I focus on is transformative. on days when you're like, oh my God, I'm so tired and why can't I just get more revenue? It's like, you'll get there. It's, you can't go from 2 to 10 without all the numbers between.
Yeah, and I'm a big believer that cream rises, and if you just focus on the quality of the content and the quality of the connections and the quality of the network, it gets noticed and people are drawn to it, which I so feel with broad radio. So I think it's so exciting and so
It's
beautiful
so exciting.
what
It really
you've
is.
created so far and what you continue to create and will do in the future. I'm really proud to be a part of it. So listener, you can be part of this mission and come to Broad Radio and be part of the family. You talked before about women have so much wisdom. And there's just, there's so many great shows that are part of the network. What are some of the pearls that you've gotten from connecting with the personalities and the family members of Broad Radio and some of the shows?
Well, let me see. I mean, I hear from, don't you think that when you listen to, whether it's radio or podcast, it's like you get the opportunity to live vicariously in someone else's
It's
path.
delicious.
You know
Without
what I
the
mean?
risk.
Without the risk, but also you can't live 10 lives. I wish I could.
Right.
I wish I could be all those other lives as well, because I think I would have a real crack at it and I'd love it, right? But I can't. So I get to listen to Nellie Thomas talk about being a queer woman with just exploring what it is to be over 50 and single, and kind of that really fun sexual version of yourself, and just hearing like that freedom and like that inspires me to kind of just be a version of that within a 25-year marriage. That's a whole other thing. But I love the wisdom of really just owning yourself as a sexual being. We are sex positive on Broad Radio. That's the joy of being internet radio, like streaming. You can have adult conversations, and you can be really kind of fun and like. Recently, we did a show that was a Saturday morning sports show called Play Big, and Rana Hussain told us that she had her first orgasm at Fernwood when she was a teenager because she discovered her core, right? And then we had a sex therapist call in to the show and say that's called a coregasm, and it's a real thing. And we're like, you learn those versions of self that usually women are scared to talk about because there's a stigma around being sexual. There's a stigma around, so that kind of thing. It's also having my eyes opened to incredible things. Like there's a little podcast that is an independent podcast by Dr. Ruth D'Souza, who is a PhD in nursing and midwifery, and her podcast is around women of color and culturally and linguistically diverse women and birthing stories. So it's basically about colonialism and how that's impacted birthing.
Yeah.
Like, that blew my mind to really just, and again, you would never hear that on people don't know that women's birthing experiences are so impacted by the fact that they are a woman of color in a white hospital or in a white experience, white medical system. That kind of thing, just blows your mind. It's stories of chronic illness. It's stories of like comedy as well. I mean, it's everything. It's everything that just makes you go, I can't live 10 lives, but I want to understand other people's lives, because you can always take a nugget from that for yourself.
Absolutely.
And as you say, that sense that you're not alone is just, I mean, it's the only thing that gets you through the day sometimes.
It's gold. So you're the mother of a 16-year-old daughter.
Mm.
Do you think of this as sort of a love letter to her?
I guess I've not been asked that question before. I have sometimes felt that mother guilt around the fact that I work 24/7, and maybe that's kept me not as connected to her as I would like to be as a parent. But at the same time, I mean, I'm lucky enough I can whilst I work 24/7, I can also drop everything and go to the school musical or whatever, right? And I think it's really valuable for her to see industry in her house and creativity and the fearlessness that comes with just going, fuck it, I'll do it myself. So that's a valuable thing. I think generally I want Broad Radio to be a safe space, and it is. That is the number one comment people say, thank you for creating a safe space. So it is intended to be a safe space for all women and gender diverse folk who just want to feel they can be who they are. So I guess it's a love letter to everyone. I hadn't sort of identified it as attaching it to Willow. I think that's because when you're raising a 16-year-old, you just hope that she might eat lunch at school.
I suppose where I was going with the question, I guess what was coming up in my heart was just this, you being in radio where there wasn't gender equality and wanting Willow's generation and generations to follow to be living in a world where women are free to use their voices and can take up space in ways that they previously have not been able to.
Yeah, and that is definitely, that's the change I want to see. That's, that is, if we're with our theory of change, societal change is the end result that we're working for. And so for her, definitely I want her to better. Do you know what, though? That generation, they're miles ahead than we
100%.
ever were.
Yeah, they're go-getters. And they think they deserve it. It's awesome.
It's really, and they don't, here's an example, right? So interesting. She's not, unlike a lot of her friends, she hasn't had her first boyfriend or girlfriend, right? So she's sort of not at that space. And we were talking about wedding dresses the other day, and she was talking about, when I get married. And in that conversation, at no point did she identify the gender of the person she might be getting married to.
Yeah, my niece and nephew are like that too. Yep.
Just didn't,
It doesn't even come into their head. Yep. No. It's a non-issue.
I was like, that is profoundly different to our generation. Because if it was a woman, we'd have to make the point it was a woman, it's not inherent in that way. Now it's just, and I see that as because language is the way you view the world, right? Language is an articulation of your worldview. And so I was like, that is the way equality and equity is so inherent in them. And I don't think that her generation are going to find themselves. Most definitely they are going to have the same challenges around feeling enough as we have, but I don't think they're going to find themselves in a room thinking, I'm the only woman here, therefore I shouldn't speak up as much. Firstly, I don't think they'll be in as many rooms where they're the only woman, I hope,
Thankfully.
Because we're doing the work. We're doing the work to shift that. But secondly, I think if that were to happen, I hope that they've seen enough examples now where they don't have, it's just not their worldview, that they don't have a right to speak up, I think.
Yeah. Oh, gosh, it's exciting. It's an exciting time for sure.
I mean, it is an exciting time because we are changing selves. Like, I just think there's a movement, don't you think, Tess? When we get to have these conversations, you and I, they are delicious. But I have these with girlfriends when I'm having a coffee.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely.
This movement is personal. It's not just in the media, and it's not just in the books we read, and it's not just adolescence and, the incredible TV series. Like, it's not just podcasts, it's in our lives. It's in the gyms we go to and the spaces we take up. It's so exciting.
It's so exciting. And to your point about turning one microphone into 100 microphones, listener, you don't need to be on the radio to use your voice, affect change in your relationships, in your community. Just have an open conversation with a friend in a coffee shop.
So true, Tess. And I think it's a muscle. Like, I'm very good at it now because I've been doing it for 20 years. And the first time you have a conversation where you might be sharing a bit of yourself and a sense of like, I'm feeling a little bit this, and you're hoping your friend might bring some wisdom, and you're that's a muscle. That can be hard. But you be courageous around that, because you will never, ever, it would never be you always get a positive result out of that. And the result is growth.
Yeah. Yes. I know you love quotes. My favorite
Yeah,
quote is
I
the
do.
Nelson Mandela one. I never lose. I either win or I learn.
Oh, that's a ripper.
It's a ripper. And it's my favorite. I mean, I love me some quotes and I love Rumi and all kinds of amazing stuff, right? But I just always come back to that one. What about, when we think we're not enough, moving through the world where there's only winning and learning? It all serves us.
Well, yeah, because, and for me, that's around releasing outcome, because process is everything. And that has really helped me with Broad Radio, because I didn't know how to build a startup. I'm completely self-taught, but every time I go, oh my God, will I get to will this result in the success that I am after, whether it's this stage or the end stage? I'm like, but it's all just a hypothesis.
It's all great way.
All just experimenting. So just experiment, have a go. And the process is what matters, because you're winning or learning. So beautiful. I have this, one of the things that I remind myself of, which is from that beautiful letter from Martha Graham to Agnes DeMille, a blessed unrest that keeps us marching and makes us more alive. So it's just, you just got to keep marching, because it will make you live. Even though it's hard, even though, you don't know what the fuck you're doing, you got to follow that blessed unrest.
I mean, I was going to ask you the final question that I ask every guest, but I think you just answered it. Because you're you. Well, I close every episode with the same question, which is, when you have a dream in your heart and you don't feel like you have what it takes to make it happen, what do you say to yourself?
When I don't feel like I have, I kind of say, I love you, and today all you have to do is this one thing. You actually don't even have to think about that dream. The dream, it's like when you want the solution to a question, don't meditate on trying to find the solution, meditate on the question, right? So I just go, well, I don't think I can do this, but it's not really up to me to decide. Just do the one thing that you need to do today, and the outcome will look after itself. Because you know what, and again, it's like that, what you say about winning and learning, right? I have no idea the impact that Broad Radio is having on the people that hear it. And I can't possibly know. I might completely change someone's life and not know that. But I don't need to know that. All I know is that I'm going to do this one thing today. And as you interact with people and as you do that one thing, you have no idea. The universe looks after that.
Oh, I'm so excited about Broad Radio. Thank you for this delicious conversation. I'm so excited to have more of them. And listener, come join us at Broad Radio. I'm super excited.
Yes, yeah. Download the app to listen when we're live, but also the podcast, that our beautiful, collection of podcasts are there on the app. And if you really love us and you really feel called to be helping us get to that 2 million, women, which that's a long way away. But if you really want to support us elevating women's voices and, just shifting the conversation so that more women are heard, you can become a Broad member, $8 a month or $80 a year to be a part of that.
And that's Australian dollars, dear listeners, in the United States and other countries, which makes it even better for you. So, yeah, it's a great investment. So many wonderful shows. Thank you for the way that you show up in the world.
Oh, Tess, I've loved this so much. I feel so completely lifted. I feel like my feet are going to be walking much lighter today. Thank you.
Oh, me too. Oh, what a fantastic, fun conversation. I loved what she was saying about leaning into that sense of play, and that, yes, she and I are performers, so we have to do that, or we choose to do that, but we can all reclaim that sense of childlike play whenever we want to, and that there's so much that we can learn about ourselves and others when we put ourselves in that state of just laughing at ourselves and the world, and resisting the urge to play small. That it's about releasing the need to be what other people want you to be or how you've projected yourself to be. Just listening to that heart voice that's leading you and not silencing it, thinking that what you want or need is impossible or too big or too hard. Because people pick up on that energy. And is that the energy that you want to be putting into the world? Giving yourself permission to be the largest version of yourself and sharing that with others. I appreciated what she was saying about fear, that to combat it, one of the things that she chooses to do is see opportunity in every experience. And that for her, passion is the great antidote to fear, that it counteracts anxiety every time. And that to find your passion and purpose, do an audit of your life. What are you drawn to all the time? What have the patterns been in your life that when she did the audit, she realized that her whole life's work was about elevating other women, and that's what she had to be doing. And that you're never too old to be the person that you're meant to be or want to be. Just have a go, because you're always winning and learning. Just keep marching on and following that blessed unrest. And that when you're looking for solutions, meditate on the question. Just do the one thing you need to do today and the outcome will look after itself. And when you get knocked down, give yourself permission to be slow and quiet and still and do nothing and just listen. And the path will reveal itself, that you are your own healer. And I love her mantra of not waiting for somebody else to do it for you. Just decide that you're I'll just do it myself kind of person. I'm going to be stealing that from her. It's incredible, right? That by starting Broad Radio, she's helping more diverse women to have a voice, have a platform where they can share stories to be part of this societal change that we so desperately need. And by extension, the world needs your voice. She was using that metaphor that her microphone, she can turn that into 100 microphones. Well, we can all do that no matter who we are and where we are in the world. By using our voice and sharing our story with the world, it has a flow-on effect. By giving yourself permission to share your story, you give others permission. You give others the courage to do that we can all be doing that. The importance of coming together as women and as men and women and elevating and celebrating each other. I loved what she was saying about the beauty of the audio medium, whether it's radio, podcasts, audio books. There is something sexy about listening to someone tell you a story or listening to a conversation, feeling like you're right there inside of it. You do get that sense that we're all in it together, that we're not alone, and that we can help each other get through this and make sense of the world. It is a microcosm of understanding humanity. And that by listening to stories, we get an opportunity to live vicariously in someone else's path without the risk. I loved when she said that. And that we can take a nugget for ourselves and absorb it into our own story. So definitely join the Broad Radio family. Check all of the content out, no matter where you live in the world, at broadradio.com.au. And yeah, leave a review about this podcast and share in the Facebook group about what resonated with you from this episode. I want to hear about your It Has to Be Me story. So head on over to ithastobeme.com/stories to share it in our free community. You can also join the conversations we're having about this episode and others. I'm Tess Masters. Join me next week and we'll dive inside another great story to help us go from dreaming to doing.